many problems at one point where like one time he didn't want to go to school, so he sat on the ledge. He sat on the ledge. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You want to sit on the window ledge? Like, you're just stressing me out for what reason? I'm working hard. I'm trying to give you all these different things. But you know, when you were kids, sometimes even parents, they put pressure on you, and we don't even know we put pressure on you sometimes. We're telling you things that's going on. You're seeing us crying. You're hearing us arguing with your dad, or the dad not there, or the mom is not there. Everybody got an issue, and it's all connected in some kind of way, whether it's we in a community where it's like there's guns and there's drugs, and everybody trying to make you feel like this life is good, you know, because I got this money, I'm dressing this way. It ain't all good. There's some problems behind that. And as a parent, we just want to make sure that you succeed. Sometimes the parent is not there, and they may not be there, and it's not because of you. It's sometimes it's called generational trauma. We have our own trauma that we transfer to you sometimes, and it puts you in the state where you're trying to make things right, whether you're trying to help your parent, or whether you're trying to out there just trying to be, you know, somebody in the gang or not in the gang, but feeling like, you know, you're the person who's lit in the area. And it's not good because you want to get to a place where you in your 20s, you in your 30s, and you're going to be like, what did I do with my life? What did I do to my mom or my dad that they were so stressed out? I did all of that with my son. He was actually in a place called Crossroads one time because he went to the movie theater with his friends. He was 15 and the other friend I think was 17, and they found a gun on the floor. And the friend is like, yo, they're going to send me to Rikers. They're going to put you in the family court, act like it's yours. Are you kidding me? You don't let nobody try to put something on you and mess up your record, and then they walk around free. They walking around enjoying their life, and you stuck somewhere calling yourself like, I'm going to do this big, I'm not going to snitch. Sure.
I got a question. So you said in the story, you said there was a gun on the floor, right?
Yeah. There was a gun under the seat in the There was a gun under the seat, so they all had on like white t-shirts. This was a time when white, he was 27, so this was a time when the white t-shirts was the thing. And it was him and another guy. So the other guy that was 17, he was 17 or 18, I think at the time, was like, act like it was your gun. So the guy left from where they was at, like he went to the bathroom, and they would say, it's the guy in the white t-shirt, the light-skinned guy. So my son never said it wasn't his gun, but the other guy wasn't standing there when it happened, and the other person was like, it's the light-skinned guy with the white t-shirt, but they both was light-skinned, they both had on light t-shirts, and the other person wasn't standing there at the time. So they took my son like it's a family court, and he was supposed to act as if it was his gun. But I wasn't going for that as a mother. He's 27 now. He was 15 at the time when it happened. So he wound up being in Crossroads for about 2 weeks. He wound up coming home. That situation got dropped because they couldn't really say who it was. But my point is, you're not going to go someplace and mess up your record for somebody else's record to be clean and to be free. You're just not going to do that because now when you go to try to get a job somewhere, or you go out and you try to do something and something is coming back and now your name is low, don't let people try to convince you to do something, because if it was something where you know this is the right thing to do, then you do it. You do it. Don't let people tell you sell drugs because you're younger and it's like, no, you do it. Or you do it. You just can't do that. And I tell you all of this because my son never sold drugs. He never did any of those things. But he gave me a lot of problems where you didn't want to go to school, you didn't want to do this. He had friends who probably that come from the community where my mom was, where I grew up. Mr. McFadden and I, we was classmates. We grew up in the same housing project. And my mom lived there for 50 years. She still lived there. And my son, I just was trying to make sure you did the right thing. Don't be on the corner with them. They're doing this, or someone is doing that. You could get caught up with that. And I just was doing everything that I could. He winds up getting put away for something where I really come home one time, and him and his friends was there, and they was hungry. So they go outside, and they call it something gonna rob somebody with a stick. For a phone. He was 15 at the time. So now you're back in court, in family court, and the other case with the gun thing was going on. So they was like, well, if you go to this program where you come home on the weekends, then they'll dismiss the gun charges, right? So he goes to the program. Things went all the way with that. He gets sent upstate. He finally up there, and I'm like, this is not a place where you want to be. You can't look where you're at. And he's out and he's running free. He's having a good time. But now you're out doing other stupid things. So now finally, by the time he's 17, he's starting to fall back on track. He's starting to get, he stopped acting a certain way. But it's like, you look what you had to go through. Look at the pain that you put me in to do all of this. And then he came home, he went to college, he got an associate's degree, he came back home, and we all happy about it, but I still was on his back, like, you should have your PhD by now. What are you doing? You going away to college in Miami, you smoking weed, they telling you not to have weed in the dorm, you have it in the dorm, they sitting you saying we gonna search the room, you don't clean the room, now you get put out of school because they found weed in your room, doing stupid stuff. And I think when you at a certain age, you do stupid stuff, but you gotta realize the consequences that's gonna come behind you. You gotta think about certain things. And now look, weed is legal. But the point is, you cannot let your life take you by doing stupid things, putting your family through things. And I know sometimes our family is not all together, and they put trauma on you, and you trying to figure it out. But my son, I love him so much. I'm so proud of him. And he turned 27 on October 25th, so 21st. And October 25th, he was going home from my mom's house, and he was at the bus stop, and somebody shot him. My son has been dead for 5 years now. So I always tell everybody, I got a son, he's 27, but he had wings. He did everything, he was doing everything right. Somebody shot him because their heart was so cold that they didn't love their own life, that they took his life. Of a guy they didn't even know. He wasn't even nobody he knew. It wasn't even his friend, it wasn't his enemy, it wasn't nobody to him. But they didn't like his associates that lived out there. So when they seen my son, they went and shot him in his back, and they still over and shot him more times. And the boy was 21, and he had a kid. And I understand trauma. I understand trauma. And I said to my mom and everyone, I want to talk to his mom, because how does she feel that somebody took somebody's life at 21? You do stupid things at 21. And you think that, this gun, I could just take your life. My son had the love of the community, he had the love of his mom, he had the love of the family, he had the love of, he was doing right, his peers, everything. Everybody loved him. And you took his life of everything you wish you had, because your mom wasn't there. You had a kid, you didn't care about your life. And I don't want to go through her story, because that's her story to tell. But I understand what made his heart so cold that he could take my son's life. And I asked the judge to give him a second chance, so the boy got 20 years. I didn't want him to get life, because at 21, you do stupid things. But that may not happen for some of you in here that may do something stupid and get to the point where you find yourself locked up and you're doing life. Everybody's not going to have the compassion that I had. And my compassion wasn't about the boy, it was about the boy's child. I didn't want that generational trauma to come to the child, where the child would be out there with a father locked up for murdering somebody, and then that child grow up to hating people because his heart is cold and her heart is cold. My son had a daughter that was born after he was murdered, so they the same age. And I just feel like, if the boy could go to a prison where he could get a GED, get college credit, and I advocate for that. Put him somewhere where he could get something to help that generational trauma break. Somebody got to break this cycle. We can't all be up in here and just say, you know what, I'm the man, and I come to work here, and I'm the man, I'm letting you think that everything is good on the street, and I'm looking you up with things that shouldn't be happening in here, but I'm giving it to you. But it doesn't work like that, because you still have these rules. And you got to follow those rules. And if you don't follow those rules, what's going to happen to you is you're going to learn to break bigger rules when you get out, thinking because you can get away with it. And I don't want you to break bigger rules for something stupid that you thought you could get away with this. And now you be like, you know what, if I use that, if I apply that to this, then I can get away with it, or I can make some extra money. I don't want that to happen to you guys. So all the love I have for my son, I want to give it to you guys. So I go back to Crossroad where my son was at, and I have a program where we do reading with young men here, urban authors, and I want to try to relate with them. I have mentors that relate with them, what go on in their life, what go on in the book, how they can relate, so they can change how they do things. Because I don't want to see nobody 20, 19, 15 going away for life in a prison. For what? Well, you could have just altered your thinking and did something different. that trauma that you're going. I have to go around and tell you guys I love my son that's 27 when he would have been 32. And he was murdered for no reason. Because somebody else's heart was so cold that they couldn't love themselves, so they took his life. And now that person is in prison for 20 years, and 20 years is a long time. He's going to be 41. He can't even get no parole. And at 41, you think he needs to be in prison sitting up somewhere where they tell him to go to bed, they tell him what to eat, they tell him what to dress, they tell him what to wear, they tell him when to sleep. It's like, do you want that for your life? I know y'all don't even want to be here. This right here is just a walk in the park. This right here, y'all got freedom to laugh and joke right here. You don't do that when you go away. This ain't no place to be. And I'm coming from you from a mother perspective, because I was so hard on my son. And now I look back sometimes, I was like, Dad, my son had an associate's degree. And I was still like, you could do this, and you could be this, and you could be and I mean, he was doing good. And I'm like, Dad, I didn't talk to him like I should, because I was so busy. Oh, you could be here. Well, I should have just been enjoying what he was doing. Just enjoying it. Because he didn't even come and tell me he was having a baby. I was so pressuring him that you can't have a kid unless you got this. Instead of saying, if you have a kid, come and talk to me, and we're going to make it through. But that's not what I want. I want you to do this. I want you to be here. And if I would have did that, and that's why I say, even as parents, we sometimes put pressure on you guys that you can't even talk to us about things. You gotta talk. You gotta let it out. If it ain't a parent, let it be one of the God's here. Talk to them. Let it out. If you're going through something, I'm not telling you, to be walking around seeing other people doing something, and you're going like, oh yeah, so and so. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, don't put yourself in situations where you find that you're breaking rules, and next thing you know, you're gonna break bigger rules. It always happens. You have to. You have to realize. I don't want to have to tell his story from the perspective of, I'm a proud mother of a 27-year-old with wings. I wish he could be telling y'all, I used to be here. But now he's in the sky. So I wrote a book. It's called The Sky's Caring Eyes. And I did that for my granddaughter because she will never know him. So all she got is me telling him, he live in the sky, And now she gets older and she's like, well, how come he can't come see me on his own? Why I gotta go to sleep to see him? Now she's starting to kind of feel like it's like, okay, now you tell me he live in the sky, but he's never coming to me. And I don't want you guys to be there. I don't want you to be there. Take something that you're doing, some passion with your art. He was an artist. So now what I do is I give art exhibits for people like you would pour all of that in, whether it's music lyrics or it's writing, it's a photo, it could be anything. And then I just did it from his birthday, October 21st to the 25th. That represents the day he was born to the day he died. And I did it in the Brooklyn Library downtown, so everybody could come and see your work. You never know who could see something that you did and put out there, and you just get exposure. Y'all have so many talents. Take the stuff that you use and you put it in the bad way, you put it in a good way. Put it in a good way. If somebody know how to break locks, you can own you a locksmith. You go in here making somebody opening people's doors that get locked out. You gotta put yourself to the good way. And that's the only thing I have to say to you guys is that as from a parent, sometimes everybody's situation is different. Some of you may have situations with your parents where they're not there, but they're going through their own trauma. Sometimes they don't know how to love. People don't know how to love you the way you should be loved. But that don't mean that you can't find love. There's people out there that love you. I love you. I care about y'all. When you come here, my son is gone. I don't have to do nothing. He was my only child. And I'm taking all the love I got for him and I'm trying to give it to everybody else out here because I don't want none of y'all to go live with him. I don't want none of y'all to have to go move in with him. Y'all need to be here. And y'all need to be here where you can focus, get yourself a GED or high school diploma and get you your own college credits or use your skills because college is not always the answer. Everybody don't fit in that. You could get you a trade, whether it's fixing cars or it's fixing computers. I mean, college is good because that's what they say you should have, but you have other skills that you can use, and I think that you should put all of that to use. You never know what you got. You can start your own business. But People take these jobs. Some take them for reason for money, and some take them because they love you and they want to make sure that you are doing well. And you just have to figure out what you want to do with your life. If this is someplace you really want to be in 5 years, is this someplace you really want to be? Because you're not going to be here. You're not going to be here. But just realize when you're breaking rules, you're breaking something so minor, it's going to turn into you breaking something so big. You're not going to be able to turn back from it. Does anyone have any questions for me? Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure that you guys probably heard questions like this before, but for you, when I was, let's say when I was young, when I was a teen, I never thought anything serious was going to happen to me. Or, you know, in the dirt I was doing, or whatever I was getting into, you never think it's really going to happen. Bad is going to happen to you. Like you'll escape whatever trouble. Or even just driving down the street, like I'm not going to get into an accident or something like that. But all that stuff is like real. It's happening to people every day. What's your take or thought on that? You never thought that.
Exactly.
And you hear about this stuff in the news all the time. You hear about things in the news all the time. You never think that that would happen. That would be your experience. What's your thought on that?
My take on that is that I have to love you guys. I have to love you guys because I gave my son all my love and I fought hard for him. But if I could have shared some of the love that I had for him with someone else, like the boy who killed my son, because he lived out there where my mom lived. We lived there for 50 years. If I could have been channeling and paying attention and seeing, like, you know what, this boy don't have no coat right here. Let me go buy him a coat and show him something. His attitude could have probably changed in a way, and he wouldn't have murdered my son. But you be so focused on your own child at times. You be worried about, my child is not going to be one of them in the street. When one of them in the street, your child is with one of them in the street, so your child is one of them, you know? And you just have to be to the point where we got to focus on not just your own child, but the community. So what I do now, because I have no more children, my son, he was my only child, is I'm focusing and I'm bringing him. It shouldn't have had to take me for him to be murdered to want to give that out to other people. I've always advocated for people, but that was if you came to me and you said you needed something. Or that was if it was his friends and they needed school clothes and it was like, no, we're not going to miss school. I'll help you. You know, and I would always, if they got into arguments, I was the mother who would go get the other mother. They arguing right now. We got to figure something out so they're not speaking. But that's because that was my area. But when you see somebody else and you like, wow, that kid right there could use a pair of sneakers, go buy them a pair of sneakers. It don't have to be the best, but it don't have to be something that, you know, will make them feel bad about themselves, but something to make them feel good. So that's my take on it now, is that I'm just going to try to help everybody I can help. Because I have so much love left. I wasn't finished loving my child. So I'm not going to be angry and have it still, because it takes a lot to be mad. It takes so much energy. And for me to be angry and mad, it takes away the love and the focus from my son. So everything I do, I call it breathing life into his name. So his name will forever live on. I got a street named after him. And his friends was like, yo, that's so dope. I was like, you know you got to be dead to get it though, right? It's not really dope. Because to have that name, he had to be murdered. So, you know, you have to, I don't say murder, but you had to die. And you had to have accomplishment. And because he used to help people get GEDs, and he wasn't never the one who would be like, yeah, I got this dude, I helped him pass his GED. Because he felt like that's something private. You don't have to be out in the street telling everybody that. That's his life, that's private. So he helped people get GEDs. Whenever somebody needed a place to stay, I would come home and it'd be book bags. It's like, oh, he can't stay with his mother, so he giving up the sofa with his space, you know, and he did those type of things in the community. So I want to continue to do that. Well, anybody?
I have a question. So first of all, thank you for coming through and sharing your testimony. So other grieving mothers that may have dealt with similar losses, are you in contact with them, or do you do other things for other women, mothers?
Yes, I have a group, we call it the Phoenix Mothers. And I have a group of mothers, it's about 35 right now. And I do a lot of different things with them. Even if it's like, you don't have no money, I'm like, you know, we gotta breathe life into your child's name. Here, let's go buy McDonald's for 5 kids and just put it in your child's name. You know, you never know who hungry at the school. After school, people walking by and they don't have snacks. Let's go do something in their name. So I stay in contact. I just try to tell people, because everybody is not where I'm at. And everybody is on their own level. And I tell people, grieving, I'm still grieving. It's 5 years, and I still be on the floor crying when I'm alone and can't make it some days. And I still have a struggle. I still struggle with my medication because I was committed in the hospital like 4 different times since he been murdered. Every year I was in the hospital for about a month, 2 months. This 2020 was the first year I wasn't in the hospital. 2021, and then I went back this year in May for about a month and a half because it's hard. Yes. No, don't apologize. Because my mental state is unstable. Because I grieved so hard for him, and I feel like I didn't love him like I should when he was here. It bothers me that he didn't come and tell me about the baby, and I gotta raise her without him. And I just feel like, sometimes it's harder to struggle trying to fight with you guys, trying to get people to be on my side. We all on the same side, and it's still like it's just a struggle. And I just feel like I want you guys to do so much better, and I want to get into it. And I feel like I'm not doing it. And I know people say, well, you help one person. I'm like, yeah, you're right if I help one person, but I want people to understand we don't want you to not be here. You got a question?
You probably answered it already earlier, but what really made you like advocate for yourself
What made me advocate for my son to what?
son's murderer to get released from time?
Because I felt like at 21, y'all do the craziest things, y'all do stupid things, and your mind is just like, you got your own trauma that you're going through. He had some trauma he was going through to where his heart was so cold, he didn't care, because if you came through the kid, you would have thought about that Jesus was taking his own life away. And I felt like if it would have been my son, if it would have been my son that did it, I would not have wanted my son to be in jail forever. I would not have wanted my son's life. And I know people say, well, your son would have never had done that. We don't know what he would have done. He was on a good track. He was doing well. We don't know where his life could have took him. And if it would have happened, I don't care. I would not have wanted my son to be in prison for the rest of his life under age 30. Yes.
I wanted to add on because I did want to, I wanted to say something about that. I will say that you're a very kind-hearted person.
Thank you.
And the fact that you said you didn't want the generational cycle to continue, but I did feel like he didn't care about your son's life and he didn't care about his own life or his child's life.
Right.
So, in my turn, it's just like, I guess on my side, I don't think I would have done it because I feel like he was heartless, he was cold, he didn't care. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like,
I get it. And my family felt like you. My family didn't want me to do it. They would say, like, when he was going to court, I didn't go to the trial because I didn't want to see his face. I didn't want his face to be embedded in my head because then it would take away from me thinking about my son's face. So I didn't want to see his face. I never went to the trial. I only went to the sentencing so I could give my speech. And I would say to him, well, is there anybody in court with him? And I was like, no, there's nobody in court. He'd be himself, and you should see him. He ain't got no smile. He's just sitting there like, he heartless. And I'm like, well, Mom, he heartless because there's nobody there for him. His mother's not there. Nobody is there for him. And he's about to go someplace that's even harder. And it's like nobody was understanding what I'm saying. If it would have been Melquan, would we be saying, yeah, give Melquan life? We would not be saying that.
well, I will say this though, and it's not to be like, say, well, what would you think his son would want?
My son probably, I don't know what my son would want, and I don't want to say that because I'm not going to say my son would probably would have been like, frick that dude, Mom, are you kidding me?
That's
Are you
what I'm
kidding me?
saying. It's no
He
good
probably
upset,
would.
but
But I can't go by that because we will never break this cycle of this hate of watching our young men and women hating on each other, hating themselves. If somebody don't step in and try to break it, it would be over and over, and then it could be his child again because it's like my father's away in prison because he murdered somebody, so I need to be like my dad and be out there murdering somebody, opposed to him being in the prison where he could get a GED. He's trying to change his life and do better. If I could set that groundbreak, because I asked the prison, I asked the judge, put him in one of these 6 prisons, because the 6 prisons called the Bar Association, where they give you that. They give you those programs. Put him in that prison, because we can't expect y'all to do 20 years, 25 years, 10 years, and come out and be like, all right, what's the next move? The world changes. you know, and then it's like, you know, you can't get a job, you can't get an apartment, you can't get no credit, you can't, and then you back to doing what you was doing before. Yes.
I just want to say that I'm really sorry for your loss,
Thank you.
and I do want to tell you that I think what you did was really, really good without putting the time. Because, like you said, at 21 years old, a lot of them are still kids. They don't know exactly what they're doing. They probably following somebody older than them. I feel like in 21 years, they have time to learn. They have time to, like you said, get a GED, to come out and possibly educate, like how you are coming in here trying to educate the youth. I feel like sometimes they slip up. It's like drugs, K2,
Right.
it's all of these things that plays a big part in a lot of people getting killed. So I commend you for doing that. I'm not
Thank
sure
you.
that I would be strong enough to do that, but I commend
And
you.
that's okay.
And yeah, no, but I really, really, really commend you. Like I
Thank
think
you.
did
And I
a
try
great
to
job.
tell other mothers that you don't have to be where I'm at. I'm not telling people to be where I'm at because that's my piece.
Right.
You know, for me, I'm focusing on my son. I'm focusing on, I got scholarships in his name at John Jay College because that's where he was attending. I got a scholarship in his name at Tompkins Community College. That's where he got his associate's degree.
And that's why
I
you have all
help
these
people
blessings.
with emergency issues, if they need a computer, if they need a Metro card to get to school, because you gotta stay. Because a lot of times you get your GPA goes down because you're so stressed you can't make it to the class, and now you only can be out 3 days, and then you fill up reports. So I do all of these things, and it's breathing life into his name. People know when you hear the Quantitel Anderson, like, oh, that dude was in college, right? Oh, that's what he did. Oh, he was an artist, right? Because he didn't get to live to tell his life. So I have to do it.
Like her, I want to commend you for the work and the effort. I think what you're doing is what all of us, what the world needs. You can't change the world in a blink of an eye. It takes
Right.
one person at a time moving in the direction that you're moving in, and soon enough it'll catch fire. And if enough of us are forgiving like how you forgive, and loving like how you love, helping like how you're helping, we can change the world.
Thank you for that. And I don't want people to think that I'm so like to the point where I write him or anything like that. I'm not there. I don't want to have a communication with him. I just want him to change the trajectory of his life, to make sure that the child has a different path that they go on as well. And maybe the child would have done it without what I have done with the mother that they have. I don't know. But I'm just saying that, you know, I don't want to have a relationship with him. I just want his life to go a different way, opposed to where it was at. Because if it was my son, I would be on the judges' benches, houses, and everywhere begging him, don't give him life, don't take his whole life away at the age of 21. At the age of 21, you got kids that's 14, 15, and he's talking about lower the age. They want to put them in jail for life. Like, what we gonna do? What is that gonna help? How's that gonna help? How is that gonna help anything? It's not. And I don't feel like everybody has to be where I'm at. And I mean, the boy didn't go and set my son on fire and chop him up and did all this. You know, it was some stupid nonsense of jealousy. He didn't like his friends, and you know, the friends that he had didn't like this clique, and it was just stupid nonsense. And his friends, my son that he had, they all were doing good for themselves. They made music, they got their videos out, they do. I don't know what it is. I mean, my son was in school, he helped them get GEDs, they had their life, but they grew up together. They grew up together. I don't know the whole history. You know, when you're a mother, you on the Insta, you looking out and you just see these good kids, they doing well for themselves. You know, they all went to school, they had issues, I try to help them out, but I focus on my son. And if I would have focused on some other people in the community, seeing the hurt that they were going through, maybe the boy wouldn't have killed my son. So you know what? Let's break that generational cycle right now, starting with me. And even though my family didn't agree, they agree now. They get it now. It took them 4 to 5 years, but they get it. They get it where I'm coming from. They see all that I do, and they help me. I have such a great support team, and you need that. But what I'm just saying is, you know, I support, to say what you say, I support other mothers, I support other youth, I support the young men, but we're doing the crossroads with them. They actually got another young man in Crossroad that wants to join the book club, and I feel good about that. That he's like, oh, I want to come and I want to join. You know, that makes me feel good that you got somebody else not saying to him like, yeah, that's so corny. that they coming in. So, you know, I'm feeling like I'm doing something.
You are.
So I have a question. Let me ask you this question. So, God willing, if you're around and the individual comes up for parole, usually sometimes when the individual is about to come up for parole, um, the victim's parents or family advocate for them to get, don't make parole, for them to get here at the parole board. Would you be opposed or would you be inclined to speak on his behalf for him to get released to say, okay, if he's
The
doing,
young man who I
yeah,
actually, of course, I would speak to him to be released if he did all of the things that I asked to put in place. I mean, if he went to prison and he went to get a GED and he went to try to do college and he was doing stuff in there and he changed, of course. But if he did nothing, I'm not gonna advocate for somebody to come home that took 20 years and did nothing when I gave you an opportunity to try to change your life. I would not do that because then you're gonna come home and do what? Maybe kill somebody else's child? No, you would have to show that you actually did something. You know, you moved in your life and you changed, you know, you became a change for yourself. But I would never go and advocate for somebody who went and did 20 years and did absolutely nothing to change their life. But if he did, and I see that he trying to do something, I would definitely advocate for, I would not speak against that. Because then I would be a hypocrite. I would be a hypocrite. Like, how can I say do this and then he did all those things and then I'll be like, no, I'm not speaking. You need to stay. Like, why would I do that?
right.
Yes.
My question is, was your son's father in his life? And part two to that, I'm only asking that because of part two, is beside other mothers, do you have men as part of your program? How important is mentorship in your eyes, and especially from a man, as it relates to mentoring younger men?
For one, his father was in his life when his father was in prison. So his father's always been his life. I'm married to his dad. We're not together now. We haven't been together for years. But his father was in his life before he went to prison. And when he went to prison, and his father did something stupid, it wasn't even I think it was like he robbed somebody and then he went to prison and they was trying to do a trial and then he started calling on the phone, threatening the person not to come to court and they used the tapes. And he got 14 years for tampering with the witness. He didn't even get time for the crime he had did, which he could have got less time for that. He got the 14 years, and that's what I'm saying. You 40 something and you doing stupidness. So that's when he was in there, and he always stayed in contact with my son. But my son didn't go visit because I didn't really allow him to do that. I wanted him to be focused on him. So, but he stayed in contact with him. But he didn't get to see my son until he got to see his obituary. He didn't see my son in years because he was doing 14 years, and then he came home the December after my son was murdered. That's when his time had ended. So my son was already gone.
I'm sorry, before you answer the next part, I had asked that question because it sounds like you came down hard on yourself for being a mother that might have been a little too overbearing, or that your son didn't want to share things with you. So that's why I asked you, was his father around, and maybe do you feel that his father not being there during that time, do you think that was?
I'm not gonna put that on his father. And I don't put that on him because you know you made your mistakes or whatever. I was there. My son had a good life. He had a good mother. He had somebody that was always fighting for him, always advocating for him. He never wanted for anything. He did stupid things which kids do in that time span. His father did something stupid in his 40s. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not gonna put that, oh, this happened because if you was in his life, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I think that I was a good enough mother to him. I gave him a good enough life that he didn't have to end up dead because somebody else's life. I never taught my son that there's other people out there whose heart is so cold they could take your life. So he walked free out there. He wasn't looking behind his back or like, you know, oh, I know so-and-so don't like me. He wasn't doing none of that. And that's why I feel I messed up because I told him, don't have your pants down because the police will be thinking you want to rape somebody, you wear your pants like that, pull your pants up. I was so afraid that it would be the police to kill him. And it was a kid 21, the cops, you know, my son wasn't out there like that, you know. They never had to stop him for nothing. He was walking with headphones, just walking to the train station and he got murdered. As for men, I have a couple of men, but it's hard to get the men because men, they don't really like to pour out so much. And I'm trying to find other fathers so we could try to do something to connect the fathers because it's about a bonding when you can share things about, because I feel like men, they try to hold it together for the mother or so much, and I know that they cry in the shower, they just don't let you see it. You know, and because they just feel like we got this thing where men can't break down, you know, or you know, you got to be able to hold it up, but they lost a child too. So I'm trying my best to start it. I have a few fathers that come out and do things, and I put stuff together for fathers, but I don't have a whole group. And I really want to get it where I could do something like I want to put out a survey. We're trying to put a survey together to see what the men would like, because we women and we thinking, oh, they want to go to a cigar bar, they want to go to the sports club, they may want to go get massages. I don't know, you know. So I want to look at their perspective, what they would want, and try to pull something together for them. Because right now I only have maybe like 4 or 5 fathers that have come out, but they don't really get involved and engage too much because I don't know. But definitely trying to do something more like that, because I know how it is that they go through a lot. It's like they lost a child too.
Outside of like fathers who might have lost a child, like as far as are you trying to just pull men in? Just not maybe not a wounded man, but men.
Yeah, because
like
that's who could
mentorship.
lead the group for me. Because I don't want to lead the group for the fathers. I think that it should be more men that they can feel like they can bond to, and not feel like we got a bunch of women standing up here trying to talk to us when they got a woman at home probably that they don't want to hear. You know, so it's like I do, and I have men that work with me. I have a lot of men that work with me for that reason, to try to pull other men. But then sometimes people don't want to talk about their pain. They don't want to talk about it. But I do have some men that work with me. And I have some men that been in trouble and they changed their life. I have a cousin. He's actually vice president of my organization, but he did 17 years because he murdered somebody. You know, and but now his life is so different. Like he's doing so well. He worked for the Department of Buildings. You know, he used to be out there in the rain at 4 in the morning when the line wasn't going to start until 7. You know, but he changed his whole life because that ain't no place to be. You know, and I feel like he changed his life. So why can't I say that this boy at 21 could change his? Because when he went to prison, he was like 20 at the time, and the person that he killed, he's close with the